wanted to fight bad. The second Montell Griffin fight.
About Montell Griffin. In the second fight, you just destroyed the guy. But the question is, why didn't you do it in the first fight? You could really finish the business in the first fight, probably. Or you just didn't have this kind of fire?
No, I had that kind of fire. The first fight, you know what my song was? The song was titled, Patience is the Virtue. Montell Griffin is a good fighter. He beat James Toney 2 times. He's a counterpuncher just like myself. Therefore, we're gonna both be fighting the same style. But he's gonna start and he's gonna go down late. I'm gonna start and I'm gonna go up late. So I have to have patience. Let him down first, then I start my up climb. What happened? He takes a knee. So the fight was going just like I wanted it to go. Because that's the smart way of boxing, which is what I usually chose to do. I choose to box smartly, outthink my opponent before I even go in there, outthink him or figure out his weakness, and take advantage of that. So don't take no stupid risk. Let him do what he's doing. He gonna go down, then I'll go up. And that's what happened. After the 8th round, I told my coach, this is his last round, he's dead. He was dead. But then he take a knee. I don't know you taking a knee. All the referee got to do is say stop. I don't throw a punch. But the referee never said stop. I'm not going to walk away because he jumping from that knee, hit me, knock me out. The referee going to count me out. So I'm not going to walk away and let the ref say stop. So they jumped and disqualified me. Now, the second fight was reckless on my part. But I was so pissed off because not only did you quit against me the first time and fake like you was knocked out, but then you went and talked junk like you beat me. You finished the fight on your face, and you gonna talk? They gave you my belt with your face in the mat, and you gonna talk? So then I became a person that I don't like to become, because most people that don't bother people, those are dangerous people. Because once you turn them on, it's kind of hard to turn them off. So by doing the talking, he turned me on. And when he turned me on, boxing I had planned the whole time to go out and box and be smart still, and just outbox him and beat him up quicker this time. But I had no clue that my inner self was gonna take over. I did.
What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I was just listening to a segment of Roy Jones Jr. and his first defeat in the ring. And if you guys know anything about Roy Jones, he is one of the greatest ever. He is regarded as one of the best fighters, period. And he was discussing his first loss. And his first loss was from a disqualification. Okay? And it was for Montell Griffin. Montell Griffin was a counterpuncher, as he explained. And I remember that fight, and I never saw a fighter that got into Roy like that, you know, at that time, okay? It was years later from the first fight with Antonio Tarver that I saw Roy take that type of, or have that type of fight, or that difficulty fighting a guy. And Montell Griffin was awkward. He was a counterpuncher, and he did wait for Roy to fight and to throw punches, and then, you know, of course, he would counterpunch. Now, he explained that he was a guy that his stamina in the later rounds was on a decline. That was the way he was. I don't know if he had stamina issues, but Roy, you know, his stamina in the later rounds would increase, okay? So he already knew what to do. And when he dropped the guy, Montell Griffin, he started, you know, he did pretend like he was out. You know, he didn't want to get up, but the trainers tell you that. If you're filed, you play it to the bone. You act as though you amplify that, you exaggerate that out. You become an actor at that point. You know what I mean? Or a stunt man that you just got knocked on your face, and that's exactly what happened. I'm pretty sure Roy hit him. Roy hit him enough to drop him, but the second time he hit him wasn't that, he hit, like he just collapsed and couldn't continue, and they disqualified Roy, which was wrong, which I think a lot of times, I felt Roy was discriminated against because he was just that athletically gifted and he wanted to fight everyone. If Roy Jones Jr. was smaller, I predict Roy Jones Jr. would probably be better pound for pound. And let me explain why. Roy Jones started at 160 pounds. Let's say Roy was a smaller guy, which he's not. He's a solid guy now. I mean, he fought all the way up to heavyweight. But let's say he started at 140, okay, and then worked himself up from 140 to 147 to 154 to 160, then to 160. Let's say he started that way. It would have been more weight classes to conquer besides the weight classes that he conquered, because you got to think about it. He started at 160. So from 160, the only place to go is up. You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense to go down. You're just too big for those weight classes. So 160 to 168 to 175 to cruiserweight, then to, boom, heavyweight, right? So you have Roy, he could only go so far from where he started. Now, if he would have started at 140, he would have been a beast. He would have clashed with guys like, even though he clashed with Hopkins, because Hopkins was kind of like that inner guy. He started at middleweight too, but Hopkins was a taller guy. He was taller. He had a slimmer frame, equally tough. But he would have fought guys like Fernando Vargas, Vernon Forrest, Ike Corte, De La Hoya, Felix Trinidad, even though he fought Felix Trinidad. But I think Felix, by the time he fought Felix, which both of those guys were out of their prime. I mean, they were still equally good back in 08 when they fought, but it would have been a different type of fight at 154. You know what I mean? At 160. It would have been a different type of fight. And, guys like that, like, he would have annihilated guys like Oberkar, Ike Corte, you know what I mean? Guys like that needed their own legacy. He would have fought them. Roy would have fought all of them. Keith Holmes, William Joppy. Think about who was around at that time. Super fights. Like, instead of like Terry Norris, he would have destroyed Terry Norris. Those guys would have had, a couple fights. And you have those type of guys that were there at the time. He would have beat those guys. He would have fought those guys. Those guys would have been a part of his legacy. Okay? That would have been those type of fights that he would have had he been smaller. I think he was bigger. He fought the guys that were available, which were very dangerous guys. Eric Harding, Antonio Tarver. He has the first win over Antonio Tarver. Bernard Hopkins. He beat Bernard Hopkins the first time. He was the second person to beat Bernard Hopkins. Of course, you got Trinidad in the later years of his life. Jeff Lacey, guys like that. Drop Joe Calzaghe. Roy had, he beat John Ruiz, which was the WBO heavyweight champion of the world at the time. Which, of course, that proves that's why you don't go back down. See, he was at 160. Roy was at 160. So why would Roy go to 154? You'd have to strip away muscle that he's already gained. He was already a big boy when he fought. When he started in the amateurs. You know what I mean? So that's going against nature. All right? You don't do that. He did the same thing again when he fought John Ruiz. After he fought him, he went back down to fight Tarver at 175, which is crazy. That's 20 pounds of muscle he's stripping off. He should have never done that. But Roy, despite the names that he has, because he has a lot of names on his resume, don't get it twisted, because those guys were killers. They were just big guys. It was just Roy was like way up here, and these guys were somewhere down here somewhere. You know what I mean? And it's just crazy how his first loss was a disqualification. So a man was that good that you had to disqualify him and strip his belts and take his O, because he was just that good. But anyway, I will leave the link below. Let you guys check out the whole article. You guys tell me what you think about Roy Jones Jr. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.